What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 4040 Vision podcast. I am your host, Khaled Abdallah, joined today by my fellow co-host, Sulman Haque. And today we are doing something a little bit different. We're doing first round rookie grades. So not from the 2025 draft that just happened a couple weeks ago, but the 2024 class. So that, of course, was headlined by Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels. But we're going to go through all 32 picks from the first round, give them a letter grade, and talk about why we gave them that grade. So we'll start, of course, with the number one overall pick, and that is Caleb Williams, quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Salman, what did you give Caleb for his rookie season?
Yeah, I think Caleb had a pretty decent rookie season. I gave him a B. I think obviously there was some room for improvements. He was sporadic at times, but I mean, pretty good season. I think maybe it could have been closer to a name. Maybe it was just like he was too hyped up coming into the season. People were like, he's gonna go crazy. But I think overall he did pretty well, and he did what was expected of him out of his rookie year, and he just has to continue to grow from that. And I think a B plus is kind of the grade I have on him for this.
To be clear, we did not share grades beforehand, so this is a surprise to me, or at least all the grades will be a surprise to me, so hopefully we'll get some disagreement. I was one of those people that was hyping up Caleb Williams. I thought he was going to be really good his rookie season. It all just kind of lined up, right? He had weapons all over the field, a great tight end, good receivers. The O-line, I guess, was shaky, which ended up being, I think, ultimately his downfall. Coaching was not great either, so that was a big problem for him and the Bears. I gave him a B as well. The funny thing is, you were spot on with your prediction for his stats. You said 3,500 yards, 25 touchdowns, which is exactly what he had. He did have 14 picks, so I mean, 14 picks is not a ton, but compared to 24 touchdowns, it's not a great ratio. I do think the future is bright, so it's like a B, but not a concern B. I think is fair to say, and I think this year we should see a significant leap from him, especially with Ben Johnson and what he was able to do with Jared Goff. So are you thinking Pro Bowl this season in the NFC?
I mean, given the weapons he has, but one thing that was a little concerning, Khaled, if you look at his QBR, he was like 34th in QBR, like below Anthony Richardson, which is a little bit concerning, but he still put up the numbers, he still put up the stats. So I do think, he could put up a Pro Bowl number. He's got the first round tight end. They've added another weapon, Luther Burden. Roma Dunze should take a step forward. So yeah, if we don't see a Pro Bowl from Caleb Williams this year, that might be a little bit of a disappointment for Caleb, right? If he doesn't do better than what he did last year, and he doesn't maybe not. I mean, maybe he's not Pro Bowl because he's hurt or something, or the Bears are like going deep in the playoffs. But he should put up potentially almost close to all pro numbers this year.
4,000 yards. He's breaking 4,000 this year.
He should with all the weapons he has. He should. Right. I'd be disappointed if he doesn't.
Okay, that's fair. I'll say 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns is the benchmark for him. Yeah, I think Ben Johnson's going to make all the difference for him. They invested in the offensive line. We should see a significant leap from him next season. And he's one of the younger quarterbacks. He's not like Jayden Daniels, who's coming up, or some of the other guys that were 24, 25 when they came in the league. So I don't think he was an underclassman, but he was on the younger side for the quarterbacks that have been picked recently. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt here. All right, and speaking of Jayden Daniels, he goes number 2 overall to the Washington Commanders. I think I have an idea of what grade you're going to give him, but what you got for Jayden Daniels?
A plus, man. A plus. Like, that wasn't just an amazing season for him. I mean, his QBR, he finishes 4th. He finishes passing yards with like 3,500, 10 touchdowns, 25 touchdowns. He ranks 10th in like touchdowns. And he also has like 900 rushing yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. He takes his team to the NFC Championship game. I mean, what else could you ask for in a rookie season? My God. He just blew it out the water for sure. He's just only going to get better is the scary things. The sky's the limit for Jayden Daniels here.
He had like the fantasy rookie season, the perfect rookie season. If you could draw it up, if you could have asked, 100 Commanders fans, what's your highest expectation for this team? What would make you feel like this guy's going to turn around your franchise? They probably would have said, let's get to the wild card. Let's be a wild card team. Let's get to the first round. Be a little feisty and shows some spirit for next year. And instead, like you said, he takes them all the way to the NFC Championship game. That game wasn't as close as we would have hoped, but there's still a lot of room for improvement, which is a scary thing. He is an older quarterback prospect. He is 24 when he came in the league. So I think we're seeing that that's the trend these days is you want to get an older quarterback who has more snaps under their belt, who has a better understanding of opposing defenses. And A plus for me, I think, it goes without saying, like, this guy kind of broke the scale with how good he did his rookie year. And he managed to stay healthy, which was, I think, the biggest concern for me. Because, you can tell from the picture, he's a slight dude. He is not a big guy. He's 6'3", 6'4", but he's only like 210, 215. So he's lanky. But he was able to stay healthy. I think there was only one game he couldn't finish this year, or this past year. But for the most part, he was able to stay on the field. And that's a great sign for the future. So A plus all around. This guy kind of broke the scale, like I said. Next up, another quarterback. So we had 3 quarterbacks in a row. For the Patriots, they took Drake May out of North Carolina with the 3rd overall pick. What did you give Drake May for his rookie season?
I gave him an A, actually, Khaled. I know he didn't play all season, but I liked what I saw from him in the 12 games he did play. He finished with 2,200 yards and 15 touchdowns. So he flashed a lot of promise, and you think about the weapons in New England, he had like nothing. And he also put up a 400 rushing yards and some rushing touchdowns. And his QBR was 18th. He was higher than Caleb Williams. And his QB rating was like an 88.1. So like he definitely showed flashes, and like the games he started and played, he played really well. And I think future's also bright for Drake May, and the Patriots added some weapons here in the draft. So hopefully they protect him, and he just continues to get better as a quarterback.
You kind of graded him on a curve, which I understand.
I did.
I did not do that. I was trying to be not as harsh, but as strict as possible with my grades. I get your case for giving him an A. I think I gave him a B. Like you said, he didn't start coming out the gate. There's a lot of things not in his favor. He had a defensive-minded head coach, which is not usually great for a rookie quarterback. The weapons were god-awful. Probably couldn't name them at this point. Maybe for fantasy reasons, I knew who they were like in week 16, 17, because you're trying to like fill injured bench spots, but I didn't know any of the weapons. They did invest in that. They invested in the offensive line. He got sacked a ton. My concern is that I think he's already had 2 concussions, so he's been in and out of the lineup. There was a couple games he couldn't finish. So I see the flashes. He gets like that pity Pro Bowl nod, kind of like Mac Jones did his rookie year, where they're like, nobody else wants to go. Everybody else is hurt. Pat Mahomes in the Super Bowl. So, we'll give the Pro Bowl to like the 7th or 8th best quarterback in the AFC. And that happened to be Drake May. And he's number 10 with Mac Jones. Maybe I would have gone with another number to shake some of that off. But I think they made the right investment this year. They still have a defensive-minded head coach, but they have a much better head coach in Mike Vrabel. So that goes in his favor. All the weapons. The first-round pick, I loved Will Campbell as a pick. They went out and got Travion Henderson, Kyle Williams. So there's a lot of like, hey, we invested in you. You showed us a little bit last year. Let's see if we can bump that B to an A next year. So I know you already gave him an A, but I know the AFC is loaded with quarterbacks, but is he going to start to push that top 3 to 5 group with what he's got in New England?
I think that's going to be tough because the top 3 to 5 is really hard to crack, but he'll crack the top 10 there. I'm talking NFL top 10.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I do think he has a chance to be like a top 10 quarterback. I think he just needs to get some more weapons. I do like what the Patriots added. Like they added Kyle Williams in the draft, but I don't know if they added enough weapons just yet for Drake May. And they added Trayvon Henderson, so they surrounded him with some weapons there. And and Stephon Diggs came over, so Diggs, yeah. So let's see. I think he does have enough to take a step forward and kind of be a top 10 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, he impressed me athletically, and I thought he made some great throws here and there. He looked great, I think, especially in the London game. That stands out to me. But yeah, well, he's not quite an incomplete, but I think a B is fair for me. So B, A, I guess it's an A minus. We'll average it out between the two of us. Next up, so we break up the quarterbacks with Marvin Harrison Jr. This one's interesting. I'm curious to see what grade you give Marvin Harrison Jr., who was probably like the most hyped receiver prospect in recent memory. I can't even think of a comp. I mean, obviously, like Randy Moss was probably the best in the last 20, 30 years, but no one has been hyped like Marvin Harrison Jr. So, what grade did you give him for his rookie year?
Oh man, Khaled, I was ready to give him a C. I was C plus. I was about to give him a C plus because of the hype coming in, but then I looked at his numbers. I was like, not bad actually, pretty
So again,
decent.
that's you giving him like grading him on a curve almost, like his own curve of we thought maybe all pro and you didn't hit that. So that's what you're thinking, right?
But right, I was like, I felt like maybe he was just too hyped, right? Like we had too lofty expectations for him. But then when you look at what he did, I'd give him a solid B because he still grabbed 62 receptions, 885 receiving yards, and 8 touchdowns, which is not bad. Like it's a decent rookie year. I do feel like he's held back by that Arizona offense and Kyler Murray and every other play. Kyler Murray's throwing balls to Trey McBride, so kind of holding Marvin Harrison Jr. back. So maybe that's part of why he didn't perform like a few guys we'll talk about on this list later, like Malik Napers. So, I mean, I think it's a solid B. I don't know how much his situation improves in Arizona. I do think
Hmm.
he has to break 1,000 yards next year for sure, right? In order for like him to live up to his potential. But he's got to be 1,000 yard receiver. He's got to catch 75 balls. He's got to catch like 10 touchdowns. That's what he's got to do. So I don't know how he does it in Arizona with Kyler Murray there. I don't like Kyler Murray as a quarterback to like feed a wide receiver like Marvin Harrison. I think he's going to struggle a little bit in second year as well.
1,000 yards in 17 games is like the absolute minimum.
Yeah,
That like that's not even 60 yards a game averaging. I was a little nicer to him, I think, than you. You gave him so you gave him a B, right? Not a
I
C.
gave him a B. Yeah, I
Okay,
gave him a B.
all right.
Yeah.
So we're on the same track. Then I also gave him a B. You mentioned his stats already. My biggest concern coming in was that it was going to take some time to build chemistry with Kyler Murray, which is exactly what happened. I think his first game, I think he went 0 for in his first game. He had like 20 yards or something, even though he was probably like the third or fourth overall pick in fantasy. So disappointing start to the season. But again, that's the concern that you mentioned is still there. Kyler Murray's not that typical, traditional drop back quarterback, 3 step, 5 step, timing routes, all that stuff. He's an improviser. And Marvin Harrison, to me, he always seemed like more of a technician at receiver than anything else. I mean, we don't know his 40 time or anything like that. We don't know if he's this insane athlete. Didn't seem like it. He's making crazy plays. He's got great hands, similar to his dad, but I don't think he's blowing anyone away with his athleticism, which is fine. I mean, being a receiver there's a lot more to it than just being an athlete. And I think because he's such a technician, he was held back by the fact that he's playing with Kyler Murray versus, say, I don't know, Joe Burrow or even Brock Purdy, somebody that's like more about the timing routes and things like that, and a little more accurate. I I think we both have kind of feel the same about Kyler Murray, that there's like a ceiling to him, and a ceiling to an offense with him on there. So you said 1,000 yards. Is 1,200 yards and 10 touchdowns? I mean, you heard he had 8 touchdowns. Is 1,210 like a realistic expectation for year two?
Man, yeah, I think so, but I don't know if he gets there with Kyler Murray at quarterback. Like, I think he's probably 1,210 touchdowns. Definitely should expect it out of Marvin Harrison Jr. if he is that talented wide receiver we all think he is. But if he doesn't get to 1,000, like I'm ready for like Marvin Harrison Jr. to go out and demand a trade. Like, get me out of Arizona.
Yeah.
That's what he needs to do.
It makes sense that Trey McBride, that operates mostly in the middle of the field, is going to have the most success with Kyler Murray. He had an insane season. Didn't score a touchdown, I think, till like week 16, but he had a crazy season for a tight end. And I think it'll just take some time for Harrison to develop that chemistry. Hopefully, they're spending the offseason working together on some of that timing and things like that. All right. Next up, our first offensive lineman in the draft, the Los Angeles Chargers took tackle Joe Alt out of Notre Dame with the 5th overall pick. We predicted this, if I remember right, in our mock draft. Just the most Jim Harbaugh first round pick ever, or top 5 pick ever. The guy loves the big boys. So what grade did you give Joe Alt for his rookie season?
I gave him an A plus. I mean, he looked like a future Hall of Famer. He looks like a staple left tackle for the Chargers. I mean, He played all 17 games. If you look at his like PFF score, because it's kind of hard to, you know, grade like figure out, oh, what's a good season for an offensive lineman.
That's going
But
to
he
be
had
a
a set
constant theme, I think, for us.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. He had 77.9 PFF score, which ranks him 19th out of like 120 tackles, which is pretty good, right? Because you're considering left tackles, right tackles. That's pretty damn good for a rookie to be ranked that high. So I think A plus season for Joe Alton. You know, this guy is going to be a staple left tackle for years to come.
I was not that quite that high on him. I didn't give him an A plus. I gave him an A. Again, it's hard to judge the offensive line because they don't have the individual stats, obviously. But he still gave up 6 sacks, which is not crazy, but it's a decent amount over 17 games. I think there is a steep learning curve when it comes to offensive tackles. He didn't play left tackle; he played right tackle, which is a little bit easier. Of course, I think is it Rashawn Slater? That's their left tackle. I'm
That's right. Yeah, I
forgetting the
think
name.
Slater's the left tackle. Yeah, but I mean, Alt can easily move to left.
Yeah, I think it probably eventually, but I mean, Rashawn Slater's still pretty young too. So, uh, and I give him an A. I think it was a great pick. They had a really good rushing attack this year. In terms of sacks, it was pretty steady from the season before. I think it was 44 the year before and like 45 this year. So, that was without Justin Herbert last year. So you can kind of throw those numbers out. So not a huge improvement in pass protection, but obviously an improvement in the rushing attack, where that was basically the heartbeat of their offense. So if you can go out and get a guy that you think is going to start for you for 10 years on the offensive line, then I think an A is a fair number. That's pretty much the best you can ask for at this point in the draft, or at that position, I should say. All right, next up, Malik Neighbors goes 6th overall to the New York Giants. What grade did you give Malik Neighbors?
I mean, this is probably the easiest one to grade. A plus. Best wide receiver in the class. 109 receptions, 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns. All of this without an actual QB, like Daniel Jones for like 3 games, and then God knows who else was his quarterback for how many games. Drew Lock,
Tommy DeVito.
DeVito. Like, he did this without a quarterback. That's the most impressive part. So Malik Neighbors, best wide receiver in this class, and A plus all.
Also a Pro Bowler. I mean, honestly, there's not much else to say. He's an A plus player. It's interesting this year. He's going to have maybe 3 different quarterbacks again, because you figure at some point Russell Wilson's probably gonna start, and then maybe Jameis Winston, and then maybe by the end of the season it's gonna be Jackson Dart. So I think he's already been hanging out with Jackson Dart, which is good. He's making the right choice, sticking with the potential future franchise quarterback. But I want to say maybe Brian Thomas had a better season than him. But if you factor in the quarterback carousel, I mean, they both kind of had a quarterback carousel, kind of, but nothing like it was in New York. That was just beyond. He had 4 or 5 different starting quarterbacks. So this guy they hit on this pick is definitely the right pick for them. And they just have a tradition of drafting these wide receivers. Hopefully his career pans out a little bit better. He stays healthier than Odell Beckham, who started off crazy his rookie and sophomore seasons. Yeah, A plus all around. No argument for me. All right. Another offensive lineman. The Tennessee Titans take J.C. Latham out of Alabama, I believe. Offensive tackle, 7th overall. What grade did you give J.C.?
I gave him a B. He played 17 games. He played them. It looks like he struggled a little bit if you look at his PFF score of 61.8, which ranks him 70th out of 140. But there's some potential to improve. There's some promise there that he showed. At least he was healthy and he played and he looked average, right? So not terrible. So hopefully, now with the better quarterback in Tennessee, maybe that those PFF grades go up for J.C. Latham.
Yeah, again, offensive line is hard to judge. I went off PFF score. I went off how many penalties he had, sacks allowed. So he had 10 penalties, which is not a lot for a rookie offensive tackle. 7 sacks allowed, around the same as Joe Alt, so nothing crazy there. And that PFF grade, like you said, was in the 60s, so not great. I gave him a C, but I do think he's not a bust, which is a big step up from, I believe it was Isaiah Wilson that they drafted a year or two before that didn't even play for them. So if we're working on that curve, that he's an A++ because he started 17 games for them. But obviously having a quarterback that's not Will Levis or Mason Rudolph is going to help him. someone that's a little more intelligent, a little smarter, that has a better grasp of the offense and the game, will help him. Obviously, year two will help him as well. A C, but it's not a failing grade or anything like that. It's a C with some high hopes for next season. I think they do have like a bookend type, franchise type tackle, which is great for them, obviously, similar to Joe Alt. Next up, we've got, this is where the draft gets really interesting. The surprise pick of the top 10, the Atlanta Falcons take quarterback Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, 8th overall. He ends up starting, I believe, the last 3 or 4 games of the season. What grade did you give Michael Penix?
I gave him a C, and this is probably more so for the potential he flashed, right? Like in those 5 games. Otherwise, this probably would have been an F. So Penix does look like he's gonna be the starter this year. He looked great in those 5 games. Like he looked like he should have been playing all 17 games over Kirk Cousins. So for that reason, I give him a C. A little bit of a curve here, right? Like I did with Drake May. So there's promise there, and I think he's gonna come out the gates. You know, I think he could also hit at least 4,000 yards this season too, given the talent around.
I think playing in Atlanta in a dome, playing most of your games in good weather. It's not like Caleb Williams, who you have to worry about weather wise come like November, December, January time. Obviously, that's going to be a big factor for him. He's got a ton of weapons as well. I gave him a C plus, again, mostly for the potential. I think that if they hadn't given Kirk Cousins, $100 billion or whatever, he would have been starting by week 10. Like they had that slump in the middle of the season where they lost like 5-6 games in a row. I think if they hadn't invested that much money into Kirk Cousins, they would have started him earlier. And it turned out he was hiding an injury from them. It was all very shady. And it coincided with that slump that they had. So he looked good at the end of the season. By then, the season was basically over. So they were kind of soft tanking, I want to say. He didn't blow us away, I think, with his numbers. He did go toe-to-toe with Jayden Daniels in week 15 or 16, I believe. That was, heartening. He looked good. His numbers, again, nothing special, 775 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 picks in the last 3 games. But he looked the part. He passed the eye test for me. And he's another one of these guys that's an older quarterback that's played 5-6 years in college. So he comes in and he's seasoned, right? He's played under different offenses. He knows what he's looking at, especially these days in college where they are moving towards more of a pro style. Or I guess the NFL is moving more towards like a college style offense. So all of that translates a little bit better. And I do have high hopes for him in year 2. So you said 4,020.
Yeah, I think so. 4,025 touchdowns. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's got Drake London. He's got Bijan Robinson. He's got Kyle Pitts, I guess. Kyle Pitts. I don't know if that counts. And he's the starter. So credit to him. And he did win the job basically in the last 3 games of the season. So high expectations next year. We'll see. We'll, especially in our preview pod, we'll deep dive a little bit more into expectations. Next up, the Chicago Bears. They had 2 picks in the top 10 thanks to their trade with the Carolina Panthers. 9th overall, they take Rome Odunze out of Washington. So we had 2 Huskies back to back. What grade did you give Rome Odunze?
Yeah, I gave him. This is tough. I almost gave him a D, but I was like, okay, there is some potential there. I'll give him a C. He played all 17 games. He has 54 catches, 734 yards, 3 touchdowns. Nothing flashy. So kind of tough, like, given where he was taken in the top 10. But he showed flashes. But he was just behind, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and then also, Caleb, his rookie year. Caleb scrambling for his life out there. Not a really great cohesive offense, and all those things are probably going to improve under Ben Johnson. So I think there's potential, and he showed it. And I think he was okay. He was just average in his rookie year, maybe at times below average. But I think he could do it. I think he can be that guy in Chicago if they need him to be. But interesting that they go ahead and draft another wide receiver in the second round as well.
Yeah, that was interesting. There is suddenly maybe too many. There's no such thing as too many options or too many weapons, but a lot of mouths to feed on the offense. I think that was the biggest thing, was the expected role that we thought he would have. I thought he was going to be wide receiver too. I thought Keenan Allen was going to operate from the slot. I thought he was going to have a smaller role. But then it turns out that you're expecting a rookie quarterback to distribute the ball to too many targets with an offense that just wasn't geared for him, with a defensive minded head coach, with an offensive line that wasn't up to par. So, all that being said, I did give him a D just because of relative to expectations. When you're taking a receiver top 10, you're expecting 1,000 yards. You're expecting, at least, close to 10 touchdowns, maybe 6, 7, 8 touchdowns, and he doesn't get any of that. He wasn't relevant. I mean, again, I don't want to lean on fantasy, but he wasn't relevant in fantasy. And again, just relative to expectations, I know it's kind of harsh compared to what I gave to Marvin Harrison, but I think just a different situation where he just didn't live up to expectations. And there was times where maybe it was Caleb improvising, kind of the same way as Kyler Murray, but he wasn't dominant the way that we expected him to be coming in. So
For sure.
what are we looking at for year two?
And they could have taken Brian Thomas Jr., right? Like, that was another guy on the table for them, and they took Roma Dunze.
They could have taken Brian Thomas. They could have taken Lad McConkey. They could have taken
guys all who did better than him. Yeah.
Xavier Worthy, of different types of receivers, I know, but yeah, there was other options. They could have taken Brock Bowers.
Yeah, they could have taken Brock Bowers for sure, yeah.
If they were looking for a big body guy to work the middle of the field. But yeah, I'm not giving up on him or anything like that, but are we looking at 1,200 yards this year?
No way.
Okay.
No way. I don't think so. I don't think Roma Dunze is a 1,200 yard type receiver. I mean, maybe he surprises me, but I think given like what they added Colston Loveland, they still have DJ Moore, they added Luther Burden, they still have DeAndre Swift. I mean, I don't know how much better it gets for him in year two. Like, my expectations are low. I'm thinking maybe 65 catches, 900 yards. Maybe he ups the touchdowns to 6 touchdowns. And if he does that, I'll consider that like a success for Roma Dunze, because he didn't do much in his rookie season. So if he just kind of doubles his touchdowns next year, I think that's a success for him, given all the mouths to feed in Chicago.
Yeah, I think because he moves up the pecking order, because Keenan Allen's not there, I do think he is able to hit 1,000 yards. I think is realistic. Especially, I mean, you mentioned all those other weapons. Like, that should be a good thing for him, where it's taking some of the attention away from him. So, all right. Next up, 10th overall, the Vikings selected quarterback J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. He ends up getting hurt in training camp or in preseason, tears his meniscus, I believe, ends up missing the whole season. Hard to give him a grade, but what did you give him here?
I mean, if we had to give him a grade, an F because he didn't play, but we can probably call this an incomplete, right? Because he didn't play an entire season, he's hurt. But to waste the top 10 pick, I mean, I guess it worked out for them in the end because they had Sam Darnold, and J.J. McCarthy didn't really have to play, and so he gets, another season under his belt. But that's, now you have him on a 4-year deal versus a 5-year deal, and you didn't really see anything from him in the first year. So you can call it an F, you can call it an incomplete, whatever. But yeah, I mean, that's his grade.
Yeah, I gave him an F. I mean, it's the best ability is availability, and there's a lot of guys on this list that got hurt early and weren't able to play a full season. Sucks for him. He looked pretty good in the preseason. I wasn't super high on him anyway coming into the draft. To me, he seemed like more of a game manager type. But they're handing him the keys. They're saying, hop in this Lambo of an offense with all these weapons and Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and all these guys, and let's see what you can do. They showed faith in him. They turned down Aaron Rodgers. They let Sam Darnold walk. They brought in Sam Howell, who's a good backup, and that's it. So it was kind of a move, not to say, hey, your job's in jeopardy, but hey, this is not a veteran that you can learn from, but a guy with a few years under his belt that you can learn from, but is not going to threaten your position. And they've gone out of their way, I think, to solidify his position. What are you thinking? Just throw some numbers at me for his rookie year.
Ooh, I mean, this is hard, man. I don't know.
What did you think of him coming in? We'll say that. What did you think of him coming into the draft?
I didn't like him coming in. So I think 3,000 yards, maybe. I mean, he has Justin Jefferson, so maybe 20 touchdowns, like 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns. That's not bad, I guess, and that should be enough to keep Vikings in games and stuff like that. Like, I don't think he's like horrendous, but like, I mean, Justin Jefferson is like quarterback agnostic, right? Like, you could probably put me in quarterback, and Justin Jefferson's gonna get me numbers, right? So So it's hard to like say, right, what JJ McCarthy is, but he'll put up numbers because he has Justin Jefferson.
He's got Jefferson, again, Addison, Hawkinson. So he's got
Exactly.
Aaron
He's got weapons.
Jones, very quarterback friendly running back. Can give you, he could be a 100 catch type running back. So yeah, I think 3,500 and 20 touchdowns is fair. He is a little bit more of a dual threat. He does like to run. He's not a super athlete, but he does like to take off and run and make plays. So I like him given the situation. Again, I didn't like him coming in, but I liked what I saw in the preseason and very limited action. So we'll temper our expectations, but again, an F just because you didn't play. We're not grading on a curve here. All right, next, the New York Jets. They take another offensive tackle. So this is the third tackle in the top 11 picks. Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. What grade did you give Mr. Fashanu here?
I gave him a C plus, yeah, you could say C plus. Very similar to JC Latham. I think but he doesn't play as many games. He plays 15 games. He only starts 7 of them. His PFF grade's like a 61.2. So yeah, I would call it a C kind of season for him because he only plays 7 of those 15 games. I mean, it was kind of hard for him to crack that rotation on the Jets, but he showed some flashes. But if you're taking a guy in the top 11, you want him to start all 17 games for you, right, at tackles. Um, I don't know, maybe, and I think now he's probably going to start for them next year because I think they both lost Moses Morgan and they lost what's the other guy, Smith.
Tyron Smith, yeah,
Tyron
who
Smith.
he replaced in the lineup. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. So maybe we're gonna see a big leap from him this year. But his rookie season was definitely like a very average, maybe even slightly below average kind of rookie season.
yeah, same. I gave him a C plus or C plus, same thing. He didn't start enough games to earn a better grade. I guess Tyron Smith was the starter, even though he's much older than him. A little bit too long in the tooth to be a consistent starter. I think they made the mistake of relying on him in the first place. But you would have thought on a bad offensive line that the Jets had, they would have found a place for him, even if he's starting at guard or right tackle, something like that. Find a way for this guy to start for you. Again, he only starts 7 games, gets hurt in late November with, I think it was plantar fasciitis. So maybe he could have kept playing if they were in the playoff hunt, played through the pain, but I guess by then, the season was over. Jets fans are happy with the pick. They're high on him. They do think he can be another 10, 15 year guy at tackle. So we'll see, but I think a C plus is fair because he did look okay. Looked pretty good when he was out there, but the injury is a big deal. All right. Next, the Broncos with another surprise pick in the top 15. They take quarterback Bo Nix out of Auburn and Oregon because, he played for 8 years in college or whatever it is. They take him 12th overall, and he has a pretty good season. The team has a pretty good season. So what grade did you give Bo Nix?
I gave him an A plus. I mean, the Broncos made the playoffs there, right at the end, right, with Bo Nix. Did they sneak into the wild card, right?
The 7th seed, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, and he looked pretty good. He looks like he could be their franchise quarterback. He puts up 3,775 passing yards, 27 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. He has 435 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns to go with that. So, it was pretty impressive, right? And maybe it's because I had lowered expectations of what Bo Nix could have been. I was like, 3,000, maybe 20 touchdowns, but something like very tempered expectations, and he exceeded those, and he looks great. But I do worry about him next year, where he might hit that C.J. Stroud type of wall as NFL teams maybe figure him out a little bit more.
Yeah, I was super high on him coming in. I didn't think he was going to be a top 15 pick, but I thought, again, with the experience that he had, with what I saw at Oregon, the dual threat ability. I mean, he basically put up the same numbers as Jayden Daniels, but with a lot less hype. I mean, he definitely wasn't as accurate as Jayden Daniels, which is the big, I think the biggest knock on him. There was times where he made the easy throws look really hard, but he made also some spectacular plays. He is a better athlete than I think people thought he was coming into the draft. And the concern I think you have is fair, where you think, okay, maybe NFL teams will have figured him out. Maybe there's a bit of not a target on their back, but maybe a little bit higher expectations in year 2. But he is with Sean Payton, who knows quarterbacks, who has, obviously Drew Brees and had success with some other guys in New Orleans. So I wonder if is this as good as he's going to be? He is again an older quarterback. He's already, I think, 26. Is this the ceiling for Bo Nix, which is still decent, but is this what he's going to be for the rest of his career?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like maybe he gets to 4,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, but that's still pretty good, right? That's a pretty damn good NFL quarterback. And so if he keeps kind of chugging along and doing this, that's fantastic for him. And I do think the Broncos maybe need like someone else to step up besides like Cortland Sutton, right? Like that can't be his only weapon. And they added Evan Ingram, but let's see, if Troy Franklin or someone else steps up as the second wide receiver for the Broncos. But Bo Nix, I think he can do it. 4,000 passing yards, 30 touchdowns. I think he has it in him, and another 5-6 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, I hate it. All right, my favorite player of all time here. With the 13th overall pick, the Raiders selected tight end Brock Bowers out of Georgia, which was a complete shock to me. When the pick happened, I never saw any links. I did a million mock drafts. I didn't think they would ever take a tight end. And I think I know what grade you're going to give him, but go for it. What'd you give Brock Bowers?
I'm giving him an F now. I'm giving him an A plus. I mean, this is probably one of the most impressive rookie seasons from a tight end. He has 112 receptions, almost 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. I mean, that would probably put him as like the third best wide receiver in this class with those numbers alone. So easily one of the best rookie tight ends we've ever seen come into the game. He's just a beast. I mean, it's the sky's the limit for this guy. But again, he did this all while Gardner Minshew was his quarterback for half the season, and then Aiden O'Connell was his quarterback for the other half of the season. So I mean, to do it with kind of nobody quarterbacks, that's even more impressive. And hopefully, just with having Geno Smith as a continuity and building that rapport, Geno Smith's probably going to give him even better numbers this year.
I gave him an A plus 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 plus. I literally wrote.
You can't do that, Khaled. You can't give him
right?
an A plus 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 plus. You can only give him an A plus, Khaled.
100 out of 100 easily. All pro season. Broke the Raiders receiving record. Broke the NFL rookie record for receptions, not just as a tight end, just period. I think him and Malik Neighbors were trading it back and forth because they would usually play in the early window. The Raiders would play in the late window. But he ends up breaking the record. And I had, pretty high expectations for him coming in, but he just blew everything out of the water. Especially after they traded Devontae Adams. I knew that he was going to get more targets, so I expected more production from him, but I also thought, oh man, it's going to be harder for him to perform because he is the number one target, and he's still a rookie and all that, but he's just so smooth. He makes it look so easy. He's got great hands. He moves like a receiver. He moves like Travis Kelce in the open field. I don't think it's sacrilegious to say that. He's got everything. And the fact that he has a legitimate quarterback, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be able to top these numbers because of the target shares that he was getting, and hopefully they do spread the ball around a little bit more, but I think he's going to be more impactful. He's going to have more touchdowns and things like that. So they knocked us out of the park. And I think this was reason enough to keep the previous GM. I know they wanted a whole regime change, but I think this pick alone would have been like, hey, I picked Brock Bowers and nobody thought I was going to pick him, and he's, maybe top 3 tight end in the league right now, maybe top 1. I don't know, but it's hard to argue. You can definitely make a case that he is the best tight end in the NFL. I know you're a George Kittle guy, but yeah, they knocked this one out of the park. All right. Next, we have the New Orleans Saints. They picked offensive tackle Talisi Fuaga, so another offensive tackle here in the top 15 out of Oregon State with 14th overall pick. What grade did you give Fuaga here?
I gave him a B. He was slightly better than J.C. Latham. He plays 17 games. He gets a PFF grade of 65, which puts him 52 out of 140. So he shows potential. He shows flashes. This was a guy I wanted him to drop all the way down to the Niners at the end of the first round, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. So I do think the Saints have a guy that could be their potential left tackle now that Ryan Ramczyk retired. So he's going to be probably the guy who steps in and takes over the job.
Yeah, he did start all 17 games for them at left tackle. I think they drafted him expecting him to be their right tackle. And we know that's a really tough position to come in as a rookie. I gave him a B because for that reason, not on a curve, but just because of the position change, the fact that he did start all 17 games for them, 6 sacks, 10 penalties, so about the same as J.C. Latham. So nothing crazy there, but again, the fact that he was able to get in there and take over a marquee position. And this offensive line had a lot of turnover. I know this is one of the teams I followed pretty closely. They had a different starting offensive line every game of the season. He had 3 different quarterbacks. So a lot of turnover, and he's one of the pieces that you can build on. He's another guy that you're like, okay, this is our starting left tackle for the next 10 years. I think from a franchise perspective, the pick is an A. For his season, I think a B minus is fair. Next, you had one of the, I think, is this the first defensive player? Oh, yeah, it is. Wow. That's right. I remember this being a big story. So 15th overall, the Indianapolis Colts take Laiatu Latu. Great name, by the way. Defensive end out of UCLA, and with the 15th overall pick. So what grade did you give Mr. Latu here?
I gave him a B minus. I think he was solid. He had 32 tackles, 16 solo tackles, 38 pressures, 4 sacks. He also had like 5 tackles for loss, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. He get his PFF grade gives him puts him 45 out of 220 based on the edge rushers. So pretty decent season. The only reason I give this a slightly lower grade, maybe I should give him a little bit higher grade, but B minus because of who they passed on, someone who goes later in the draft, Jared Verse. They passed on a guy like that could have been the pick here instead of him. So just kind of comparing those 2 seasons and seeing what Jared Verse did versus what Latu does. I score him a little bit lower, so you can grade on the curve both ways, Khaled.
Yeah, they could have got Verse or Chop Robinson here in the first round. I think he was in a tough situation. The Colts defense was not great last year. I believe it was DeForest Buckner. I was trying to remember his first name. Missed a pretty decent amount of time, and he's their cornerstone franchise player on defense. I gave him a B minus as well. He wasn't great. He wasn't terrible. He was solid, which I think is a good enough. You expect more production, but obviously sacks and that kind of thing is more of a product of the rest of the defense versus just one guy's performance. Again, not a bust. I don't think we've had a bust so far, at least not an explicit one. We'll see in a couple years, but no bust so far, which I think is great for this draft at least. But he does have the distinction of being the first defensive player taken in a draft class, which is crazy to think. Next, Byron Murphy II. Maybe this guy is the bust. The Seattle Seahawks, they take Byron Murphy II out of Texas, defensive tackle with the 16th overall pick. What did you give Mr. Murphy?
I gave him a D. D. I think he starts 9 games. He plays 14 games, so I guess he was available, but he's not very impressive in those games. I think he has maybe 2 tackles for loss and maybe half a sack. That's his stats for the year. I think maybe if you look at him, maybe through some more advanced metrics, he ranks first in pass rush win rate amongst rookie defensive tackles, something like that. He's first in pass rush win rate. He's third in with pressures. So maybe slightly more impressive. Maybe it's because of his limited number of snaps. We didn't see that. Feel like it's a good season for him, but I think you if you have to look at someone through an advanced metrics lens and be oh, okay, I guess I see the potential there. That's not really a good season for that guy. So I give him we can call it a D plus. We can call it a D plus. He played, he did okay, but not something you're expecting out of a guy who goes in the top 20.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I gave him a C minus, not quite a D because of those advanced metrics that you mentioned. But once you get into the advanced metrics and the acronyms and the VORP and WAR and all this stuff, you're like, okay, are you just trying to convince yourself that this guy's a good player? It is hard, just like it is hard to judge some offensive linemen based on some individual stats. It is hard to judge defensive tackles because so much of their job is just to make a mess for the other guys to get tackles and sacks and stuff. But I would have thought playing next to Leonard Williams, who is an elite defensive tackle, he would have made a little bit more of an impact. But he just, again, didn't do much of note. Missed some time with a hamstring injury. Of course, that dings you a little bit. So C minus, and this guy does have potential bust written on all over him. So we'll see if he can live up to some of these advanced metrics in year 2 here, but it's not looking super great for him, I think we can say. All right, we're getting to the back half of the first round here. Another edge rusher out of Alabama, another defensive lineman, I should say. The Minnesota Vikings trade up to the 17th overall pick to get Dallas Turner, again out of Alabama, with the 17th overall pick. So what grade did you give Dallas Turner?
I also gave him a D plus. I thought, he plays 16 regular season games, but he doesn't play a lot of snaps. He finished with 3 sacks, 20 tackles, 1 interception. Like, not great numbers for a guy, again, taken in the top 20. He's most of the time buried behind, Van Ginkel and other guys on the depth charts that limited his playing time. A guy you take in the top 20, you want him to be playing a lot more than that. You want him to potentially be a starter on your defensive line, right? But I get it. They had Pro Bowlers and Van Ginkel and Jonathan Greenard. So, got to see more from you in their rookie season. Maybe the potential's there. Maybe he flashes that. Maybe he starts next year. But rookie season, D plus for me, because you definitely need more out of it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Same thing, D plus. Only played 28% of their defensive snaps. He does have that excuse that you mentioned about the Pro Bowlers in front of him, but you would have thought on a Brian Flores defense where they're using multiple looks and they're always blitzing, you would think that this guy could be able to crack the lineup a little bit more. He kind of looks like one of these typical edge rush prospects that looks great on paper, is a great athlete, but just the production isn't quite there, and he ends up bouncing around. So he's another guy that's got some bust potential, similar to Byron Murphy. So not a great start to his career, but again, we'll see what happens in year 2 here. All right. Next, offensive tackle Amarius Mims out of Georgia goes 18th overall to the Cincinnati Bengals. What grade did you give Mims here?
Yeah, I gave Mims a D plus too. So
3 in a row.
3 in a row, 3 D pluses in a row. I mean, he plays 15. He plays in 15. He starts 13, but his PFF grade is like 57.8, which puts him like 96 out of like 140 tackles. He allows like 33 pressures, so he doesn't look good. The Bengals had a really bad offensive line, and he's part of that problem. He plays and he cannot protect Joey Burrow. So I don't know if there's growth in maybe it was just the way the Bengals offense runs and he's not able to adapt to it. But he gave up a lot of pressures for in his rookie season. Again, you want this guy to be like a decent starter, and I don't even know if he's that based on his rookie season.
Yeah. So when I was doing my research, I read that he had only started like 10 games at Georgia, even though obviously he's been there for a few years. And that was the biggest knock on him, was that he may not be pro ready right away, which I think the Bengals miscalculated, because if you are coming into a season where you're expecting to compete, you already have your franchise quarterback in place, all this stuff, you want to invest in the offensive line, you want to invest in a guy that's going to come in and be ready to start and make an impact right away. And if you've only started like 8-10 games in college, you probably don't have the experience needed, and it showed right away. So I gave him a D as well for all the reasons that you mentioned, the PFF grade, the sacks given up, the penalties. He just didn't really look the part. We'll see what happens. He's got a decent number of starts under his belt now. Let's see what it looks like in year 2, but not a great start for Amarius Mims here. Next, the defensive rookie of the year is taken here with the 19th overall pick. The Los Angeles Rams select Jared Verse out of Florida State. They picked 2 guys out of Florida State that were just amazing in their rookie season. So what grade did you give Jared Verse?
Yeah, I hate to give this grade, but he A plus. I mean, he just killed it his rookie season, and I watched him twice against the Niners, and he was wrecking havoc on the Niners. I mean, I think he gets like Pro Bowl. I don't know if he gets did he get an All Pro season? Call it. I don't know if he got the All Pro.
Not All Pro, but
okay.
Pro Bowl.
Pro Bowl. Yeah, and I mean, he was impressive, right? He has 4.5 sacks, 66 total tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries. He 2 passes defended, and he starts 16 of the 17 games. So I mean, very impressive rookie season for Jared Verse. Look at the guys taking ahead of him, how bad they were as the defensive guys. Like, I mean, Latu might be the only one who's like, you could even say was like even relatively somewhat close to Verse in terms of how he played. But Verse, man, he looks like a beast, and freaking hate this that the Niners have to play him twice a year now, like for the next like 10 years. So yeah,
Yeah, everything you said, great player. I wonder what this what this defensive line would have looked like with him, Braden Fisk, the other rookie out of Florida State, and if Aaron Donald had decided to stick around for another year. And I mean, I don't know if they take these two guys if they think Aaron Donald's coming back, but maybe he could still come back. I'm sure he's still under contract. He could unretire at any time.
have
So
you seen
maybe,
him posting on like Instagram, like his like I'm still in football shape, and he's all like bulked up like this. So I don't know.
yeah. I mean, maybe Matt Stafford gives him a call after training camp and is like, "Hey, man, one last dance." Because I did read that they gave Matt Stafford a new contract, but he's got no guaranteed money after this season or after the 26th season. So he may not be around for long in LA. So maybe Aaron Donald gets a call and say, "Hey, come play with Jared Verse and Braden Fisk and some of the other guys." I don't know why we're talking about Aaron Donald on this, but yeah, A+ defensive rookie of the year, incredible player, just a wrecking ball on defense. And I mean, it's hard to get an All-Pro nod with some of the other edge rushers that are out there in the NFL. It's just there's only so many All-Pro spots, but this guy's got the potential to be a defensive player of the year type talent. So great pick by the Rams. And then a not so great pick. Troy Fautanu out of Washington goes 20th overall, so another offensive tackle to the Pittsburgh Steelers. What grade did you give Troy Fautanu?
Yeah, I mean, this guy has all the potential in the world, but again, he played one game, I think, and like it was weird. He was like hurt from the get go. He was hurt from the preseason. He missed game week one, comes back, plays week two, dislocates his like kneecap or something, and then that's it. Like his rookie season's done. So we can call it an F, incomplete, whatever you want. But again, he was not available. He was unhealthy. But who knows? Let's see what he does year two.
Yeah, quick F here. Best ability is availability. Not his fault, but it is what it is. An F. But he does look great. He just looks like a great offensive tackle. I think he should be at some point, but not last year. Another defensive player here. The Miami Dolphins select defensive end / edge / outside linebacker Chop Robinson out of Penn State. They take him 21st overall. What grade did you give Chop Robinson here?
Yeah, I gave Chop Robinson B plus. I think he had a pretty good rookie season, a lot of potential. Again, another force to be kind of reckoned with, right? 16 tackles, 6 sacks, and he was on the all rookie team. So I think again, another guy who flashed a lot of good potential. He's on the up and up, pretty solid 6 sacks. That's what they got him for, to be kind of that edge rusher guy. So I think he could be a double-digit sack guy next year for sure for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I gave him an A. He did come along a little bit slowly. He didn't get his first sack of the season until November. But if I remember right, like Khalil Mack, I think didn't get his first sack until I think week 12 or 13 or something of his rookie year. So sacks just kind of sometimes they're just a product of circumstance more than talent. Like it's probably better to look at stuff like pressures, tackles for loss, things like that. Which is exactly what happened. So I think things started to click for him in the last 10 games, where he did get 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. He ends up 5th in the Defensive Rookie of the Year race. So I think in A, it's like a home run pick for the Dolphins, who have tried to get defensive ends in different ways, and they've struggled. I forget, was it Bradley Chubb? I think they signed from Denver. They drafted another guy out of Miami, blanking on his name right now, but they've been trying to find good edge rush talent, and they end up finding one, obviously here in the first round. So you said B plus, I said A, so we'll round it up to a B. Well, let's keep it at B plus. Why not? All right. Next, another home run pick. I think it's fair to say the Eagles take cornerback Quinyon Mitchell, 22nd overall out of Toledo. Not many great players out of Toledo, small school in Ohio there. What grade did you give Mitchell?
Yeah, I gave him an A plus. I mean, he looks like a franchise cornerback. He's gonna be Hall of Famer type, locked down. Like I don't know if you know his nickname. His name was Quinyanamo Bay or something like that. That's what they nicknamed him.
That's terrible.
I don't know why that's his nickname, but this was on the internet for his ability to lock down opposing receivers. So yeah, he played well. He had started 16 games, 46 tackles, 12 pass deflections. He was in the playoffs. He was playing well. He was locking people down. He had 2 interceptions in the playoffs. I don't know how many interceptions he had on the season, but again, locked on guy.
None.
I mean, none, right?
None in
Because
the
people
season,
weren't throwing
but
his way. Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say it's like it was like Trayvon Diggs a couple years back where he had 10 interceptions. It's like that's too many. It's like it's a good stat, don't get me wrong, but if a cornerback that you know is good is getting 0 picks, you're like, okay, this is a lockdown guy. But sorry, go on.
No, that was it. That was it. Like he's a lockdown guy, and he's going to be kind of the a future Hall of Famer, I think. Right? The Eagles stole one here again.
Yeah, they did. They grabbed 2 starting cornerbacks in the first 2 rounds. I think Cooper DeJean was a second-round pick. I think he went like 33rd or whatever it is. Anyway, the Eagles probably the best run franchise in the NFL. Obviously, KC has the best quarterback, but roster, top to bottom, franchise, front office, you got to give it to the Eagles, who again knock it out of the park with this pick. He's a future All-Pro. He's got like Revis Island written all over him. He's Charles Woodson. All these guys, like the great defensive backs. He's got the long arms. He's fast. He's tall. He's got all the tools. He's someone that I was hoping the Raiders would grab, 13th overall, which I think would not have been a stretch. People said that would have been a reach at the time, but obviously not. The talent is there. He's worthy of being a top 5, top 10 pick with the talent that he has. So A plus for the Eagles. And I think I know what the next guy is going to get. So the Jacksonville Jaguars select Brian Thomas Jr. out of LSU with the 23rd overall pick. Before you give him a grade, is LSU the new wide receiver university?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Or is it Ohio State? I don't know. It's one of those
LSU.
two.
It's LSU.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look at the guys like Malik Napers, Brian Thomas, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I mean, come on, man. That wide receiver you right there.
Yeah, that's hard to argue. Ohio State makes a case, but yeah, I'll give it to LSU here. But yeah, I think I know what you're going to give him, but continue.
A plus, man. A plus. Like, I was a big Brian Thomas fan coming into the draft, and he exceeded even my expectations. He had 87 receptions, almost 1,300 receiving yards, 1,282, 10 touchdowns. I mean, he does this most of the season with half the season with Mac Jones at quarterback, other half with like Trevor Lawrence, and he finishes 3rd in the league in receiving yards his rookie season. So I was of the opinion, if the Jaguars were calling the Niners for Brandon Ayuk, you trade Brandon Ayuk to the Niners, to the Jaguars for that first round pick if they were offering that. Like, I would have done that in a heartbeat. And there were rumors that might have been something the Jaguars offered, and the Niners said no. I would have done that in a heartbeat, and I would have taken Brian Thomas Jr. Like, I would have had no hesitation doing that. But oh well. Now he's a Jaguar.
He's probably already better than Brandon Ayuk, who is coming back from a major knee injury. So yeah, everything you said, just another home run pick. A fair shout as the best receiver in this class so far. Malik Neighbors, obviously, I think you gave it the nod to Malik Neighbors, but whatever, you're splitting differences here. But a potential like generational rookie class of wide receiver, and it just seems like every couple years this seems to happen, where you have 2, 3, 4 guys that are just incredible, not just incredible, but incredible right out of the gate. He didn't waste any time. He showed up. Again, with those 2 quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, okay, sure, you're like, all right, makes sense that he's going to succeed with him, but Mac Jones, he made Mac Jones look great in certain games. So sky's the limit with him here. Now he gets to pair with Travis Hunter. So all of a sudden, this Jacksonville offense is going to be, I don't know how productive they're going to be because there are questions at quarterback, but it's going to be like must-see TV. Like, I want these guys front and center on red zone. I want to see what he does. He's one of the most exciting players. I think he averaged close to 15 yards per reception. So not just a great receiver, but a great deep threat. And I can't wait to see what he does in year 2, along with Travis Hunter. That should be fun, assuming he plays the majority of his snaps at receiver. All right, getting to the last few picks here. The Detroit Lions select cornerback Terrion Arnold out of Alabama with the 24th overall pick. What grade did you give Terrion Arnold?
Yeah, I gave him a solid B+. I think, for a guy kind of going late in the first round, he plays 16 games. He has 10 passes defended, 1 fumble recovery. He looked like a pretty good cornerback for the Detroit Lions, and he got major minutes, especially in playoff games and things like that. So I think definitely above average rookie season for him, and he's only going to improve. And I think the Lions got a pretty solid cornerback here.
I think this is the first one where we're like really disagreeing. I gave him a C.
Okay.
I will say they did not have a pass rush for the back half of the season. I know they lost a ton of people on defense, so I will give him that benefit of the doubt. My main issue with him was all the penalties. He had 11 penalties, 7 defensive pass interferences. It seemed like every game he was giving up a big play because of those penalties. And he was just, I think once guys get a reputation for it, it becomes like a magnet. But I thought he was decent. He was pretty good, again, for a rookie cornerback who did start all those games. But you think about it, they could have gotten Cooper DeJean here instead, who had a much better rookie season, obviously on a better defense. But it was the penalties that did it for me. Again, I'm not giving up on the guy. I'm not writing bust on his card here, but I just didn't super impress me, I will say. And the penalties, again, were a major concern. Alrighty. With the 25th overall pick, the Green Bay Packers selected tackle Jordan Morgan out of Arizona. What grade did you give Jordan Morgan?
I gave him an F. I mean, I think he played like 4 games in the season. I forget how many games he played, but he didn't play the whole season.
1 start, 6 games, so nothing
One
special.
start, 6 games. Nothing special. He was hurt most of that season. Give him an F. Let's move on. Nothing. Can't even really talk about it. Like, I don't know why the Packers took this guy, honestly, but I'm glad they did because I had a fear the Niners would take him, and I'm glad the Packers took him ahead of us.
Why weren't you high on him?
I just didn't like his potential. I didn't see him as a fit as the Niners. I think he was like a little like he's not an elite athlete, and like when you're playing in Shanahan's zone scheme, he was a good fit in the zone scheme.
Got it. I mean, I get the logic behind the pick. You have Jordan Love. You want to protect him. But yeah, 1 start, 6 games. He has a shoulder injury. You see in the picture here, he's already got a shoulder brace on. So yeah, F just because no impact. But again, Packers fans are trying to convince themselves that he was good and that they have a bookend tackle. So we'll see. They probably know better than I do, but they might be looking at it through like some yellow tinted glasses here. Right. Next, another offensive lineman, the first non-tackle to get picked here. Graham Barton, I believe, out of Duke, goes 26th overall to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What did you give Graham Barton?
I gave him like a C plus. I mean, he played 16 games. He starts 16 games. Not impressed. Like if you look at his PFF grade, it's like 55.4, which puts him really low on the list of centers. So, I mean, could he get better? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to grade centers, but I guess he was okay. He was average. He was slightly below average, maybe. So like a C plus is probably the right grade here for him. Because he did play 16 games, so I will give him higher than a D plus and give him like a C plus.
I gave him a B. PFF grade wasn't great, but they finally had a rushing offense for the first time. They had like the 4th best rushing offense. They hadn't had anything near, I want to say, even top 20 in the Tom Brady years. So maybe part of that is Brady, but even saying that, they were impressive on the ground. I do think playing center is probably the second, maybe even the hardest position to play on the offensive line, especially for a rookie. You can see in the photo here, he's calling out defensive coverages. So it's a tough position to come in and play right away, where you have to learn so much and you're making so many decisions. You are your quarterback's best friend at that point. He is playing with a veteran quarterback in Baker Mayfield, but just the fact that he came in, took that starting job, and again played all 16 games or 17 games, whatever it is, for Tampa Bay, I think a B is fair. So I guess you gave him a C plus. We're all kind of around the same ballpark here. Next, the Arizona Cardinals selected defensive lineman Darius Robinson out of Missouri with the 27th overall pick. What grade did you give Darius Robinson?
Yeah, I gave him an F too. I think he plays only 6 games. And he has like a calf injury. Doesn't look very impressive in those 6 games anyways. He has like 1 sack. I mean, he was supposed to be this like elite level athlete with crazy bend. Like, that was kind of the hype around him, but he didn't look great. So I'll give him an F there. And he didn't do much because he only played 6 games.
Yeah, I'm with you. F, he had a calf injury that limited him and again didn't do much. He's another guy that I've got bust written in pencil, not in pen. It just seems to happen in Arizona. They draft these defensive linemen and linebackers in the first round, and they just never seem to pan out. So yeah, an F for him. The Kansas City Chiefs, they traded up for this pick. They draft wide receiver Xavier Worthy out of Texas with the 28th overall pick. What grade did you give Worthy here? I think this will be an interesting one because I think a lot of it is based on perspective. So what did you give Xavier Worthy? I know you didn't like him coming in, so.
Yeah, I mean, I still don't like him, but I think he kind of maybe tanked his sophomore season. But anyways, I'll give him a B plus. He put up numbers. He had 78 catches for 925 yards and 9 touchdowns, also 3 rushing touchdowns. So pretty good rookie season in the books for him. And he played well. I mean, he's a speedster. He's kind of got that Tyreek Hill level speed right there. So, I mean, he might be even faster than Tyreek Hill. So he's crazy fast. So that definitely helped him. So I give him a solid B plus. He did pretty well.
I'm not sure where you got your numbers from because he only had 60 catches for 538 yards and 6 touchdowns. Were you looking at total yards?
Maybe I was. Let me double check.
Yeah,
but
you should double check that.
Yeah,
that's why you're like when you started off, you said he put up numbers. I was like, I don't know. I gave him a C plus. I think
those numbers including playoffs. That's including the playoffs.
Okay, there you go. So the playoffs. The funny thing is, he didn't have his first 100-yard game until the Super Bowl. And he had a crazy Super Bowl. He had like 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in garbage time. So I'm not going to give him too much credit. By then, the Eagles were basically playing like shell coverage. So it didn't really matter. They were just letting him do whatever they wanted. The thing is with him is there were times where he made the play, like 99% of the play, but he either stepped out, he couldn't make the catch in time. Just, it's kind of the intricacies of the wide receiver position where he reminds me of like Amari Cooper as a rookie, where he had like the flashes of raw ability. Cooper had a much better rookie season, but he had the flashes of raw ability as the athleticism, the speed, but he's not quite like there yet as a technician. Again, with the toe dragging, with the placement. I know Mahomes is not the easiest quarterback to play with because of the scramble drill and stuff, so it does take him a little bit of time to develop that chemistry. And I also think the Rashee Rice injury really hurt him because he went from being, guarded by the second or third best defensive back to all of a sudden he's wide receiver 1 and he has higher expectations. Yeah, a decent rookie season. Again, not a bust by any means, and he should have. We should be seeing a much better year 2 where he does hit those numbers, the 900 yards, 1,000 yards that you mentioned in the beginning. All right, we got the last couple picks here. So the Dallas Cowboys selected offensive tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma with the 29th overall pick. What grade did you give Tyler Guyton?
This might be the first guy who actually played a decent amount of games that I give him an F. He just looked bad. He just looked horrible. I mean, he had a lot of penalties. I think like his F grade is like below 50, which is like bad. Like I think you don't even got to use the pencil this time, Khaled. Use the pen. Bust. Like he looks bad.
11 starts, 18 penalties, 6 sacks. Not great.
Not great.
But he lost the starting quarterback. I know it's not the biggest determinant, but it's hard when you're playing with, again, like a carousel of quarterbacks. I'm not giving up on him just yet. Playing left tackle as a rookie is difficult. I think they did him a disservice by playing him out there. But the penalties, huge concern. So I gave him a D. I didn't give him an F quite yet. But bust, maybe. They did draft another offensive lineman, Tyler Booker, I believe. So they have 3 guys named Tyler. They're starting offensive line. So maybe he's not the left tackle next year. But again, year 2 as a left tackle, you get to pick up some of the intricacies of the position. Maybe he gets a little bit stronger, all that stuff. So I'm not giving up on him quite yet, but we're close. All right. 30th overall, the Baltimore Ravens select cornerback Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. What grade did you give Nate Wiggins?
Yeah, I gave Nate Wiggins an A. I thought he was a really good cornerback. He was almost kind of in that mold of a shutdown corner. I think the potential is there. He played pretty. He has I think he had a pick 6. He forced some fumbles. He had a few passes defended. He put like 33 tackles. So I thought he showed good potential. He had a good rookie season. And, he's going to be the starting cornerback for the Ravens for many years.
I gave him a B just because it took him a while to get started. He finished the season strong, but I think he didn't start in the beginning of the season. I know he missed a game or two because of a car accident. Not his fault. It's not even an injury; just he missed a couple games because of that. He does have great potential. He was one of the fastest players. I think he was the fastest player in the class behind Xavier Worthy last year. So he's a little slight. So I don't know if he's going to be quite the shutdown corner. I think he does have that deficiency to his game where he can get overpowered by some of these bigger receivers. He doesn't have like the length of like a Quinyon Mitchell or that strength. But another great pick by the Ravens. They just seem to draft defensive players better than just about anybody else in the draft. So B, A, we'll give him a B+. We'll average it out. All right. Your boys, the San Francisco 49ers selected receiver Ricky Pearsall out of Florida with the 31st overall pick. He got shot in the preseason. That doesn't happen too often. I guess him and Brian Robinson. I'm sure you'll factor that into your grade. But what did you give Ricky Pearsall?
Yeah, him getting shot factored in a little bit. It probably saved him from being a D kind of guy because I was like, okay, he needed some time to recover. But I gave him a C minus. Didn't love what I saw out of him in the games he did play. I think he has like 30 receptions, 400 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns, and a lot of that comes in the last 2 games of the season. So I forget how many games he plays exactly. I think he plays like 12 games. I think he plays 12 games.
Somewhere like that, 10, 12 games.
10 to 12 games. I mean, I watched him every game, and there's times where you're like, I don't know if this is just like, Kyle Shanahan's like schemes, but like he doesn't look like he could get open. He didn't look like he was open. He doesn't look like he's running crisp routes. And Shanahan's not putting the ball in his hands until those kind of last 2 games, which are like garbage time games, anyways. So really, really tough season for Ricky Pearsall, and you would have thought Brandon Ayuk suffers that knee injury kind of middle of the season. Ricky Pearsall gets more featured. Not really the case. I mean, there were games where he had like 0 targets. So I don't know if that's Shanahan's offense. That's just the system like of what happened. Purdy got hurt as well, but Pearsall did not look great. Was not impressed with the pick when they made it. Still not impressed with the pick to going into year 2. I don't have high hopes for him, Khaled. I know you love this guy, but I don't have high hopes for Ricky Pearsall. I don't think he's it. I don't think he's it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I love him because I did. I think he's an explosive athlete. Didn't really show in year 1. The guy got shot in training camp. Like,
he
it's
was
not
good
his
to
fault.
go though, bro. He was good. He missed 6 games and he was good to go. No one told him to, like play. Like if he wasn't good to go, they wouldn't have played him, right?
I'm not saying that he shouldn't have played. I'm saying that in an offense like the Niners offense, which is notoriously complicated, which asks a lot from its wide receivers, right? I know Shanahan is really picky with his wide receivers. He has really high expectations for them. He expects them to block, do all kinds of things that a lot of coaches don't expect from their wide receivers. So I know there was like a vacuum that opened up with the Brandon Ayuk injury, but if you think about how much time he missed, that's like crucial foundational time, like chemistry time he could have built with Purdy. Where I remember I watched an interview with Purdy earlier this offseason where he's basically said, I'd throw a ball to a spot sometimes because I can't see. So I'm thinking, all right, he's not a tall quarterback. This is a timing offense. It's an easy offense for quarterbacks. I think you can get a lot of production out of him. But the fact that he's saying that I trust the timing and I trust this offense so much that I'm throwing to a spot that I can't even see makes me think, okay, Ricky Pearsall probably would have had a better season if he didn't get shot. He would have had a better relationship with Purdy. And I can't believe I'm sitting here defending this guy as a 49er. But I just really liked him coming in.
This is why I gave him a low grade, Khaled, to see you defend Ricky Pearsall, defend the 49er.
I mean, that being said, I did give him a C- or a C. So it's not like I gave him like an A+, and we're not grading on a curve here. I just think that there was a lot of things that went wrong for him early on and just went wrong for this offense, for this team in general. So he kind of, you thought going into the season, he's going into like a finished product of an offense, and this guy's going to, at least I thought, he's going to fit in seamlessly as that slot receiver. He's not going to put up huge numbers, but he's going to be impactful. And then he ends up walking into like a dumpster fire. A lot of things that didn't go as planned, but I still have high hopes for him. I think he's wide receiver 2 now. Debo's gone.
Yeah,
He
I
moves
mean,
up the depth chart, so
he's
we'll
slotted there
see.
for now. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. The last pick here in the first round, the Carolina Panthers trade up into the first round and draft a wide receiver Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. What did you give Xavier Legette here?
I also gave him a C minus, and again, maybe you can grade him higher for his kind of like sound bites that he gave during his rookie season. I mean, those were more impressive than his actual games, or
The
more
memes,
entertaining.
man.
The
Great
memes,
memes from him.
great memes. I mean, that was more entertaining than watching him play football. Honestly, so, he didn't do great. He was okay. I think he had like 49 receptions, 497 yards, 4 touchdowns. Uh, he does, he doesn't look like he knows how to run an NFL route. So that's really it. Like he's just like a straight line guy, and like you can throw him that deep bomb, and that's it. He didn't look impressive to me. Like, and the Panthers just passed on like Lad McConkey, right? That could have been the guy they could have taken. Same with the Niners. That's another reason why I gave Purcell a C minus, because they could have had Lad McConkey, and they both passed up. Both those teams passed up Lad McConkey for two receivers that didn't look great. So like yeah, Xavier Legette, he doesn't seem like a guy they really trust because they go ahead and take a wide receiver in the top 10 in this draft, right? So I think maybe like Legette is more like this, speedster kind of go run that go route. We'll try and see if we can hit you, right? And I don't think he doesn't have much of a route tree, and that's part of the problem for him.
I think that was one of the knocks on him coming in, so it showed up pretty early on. Numbers not great. There was problems with drops. I remember specifically against the Eagles, he dropped 2 touchdowns that could have resulted in game winners. So I don't know if that's a concentration issue or whatever it might be. I think physically he is very impressive. I think they do need to just do a better job of getting the ball in his hands. Again, he's from South Carolina, so it's easy to make. It's kind of lazy to make the Debo comparison, but maybe that's how they need to use him a little bit more. Is get him
Khaled,
more
who he
involved.
reminds me of? Sorry to cut you off. He like his like stature and the way he runs is like Darius Hayward Bay, but not as bad with the drops. Not as bad with the drops. I just
That's
wanted to
not
throw that out
great.
there for you. Yeah.
That's not great. Who, ironically enough, he was a bust, but he did end up playing, I think, like 10 years in the NFL. So he stuck around for a while. Kudos to him. But yeah, not worthy of the seventh or eighth overall pick, whatever it is. Anyway, I gave him a C minus. Think he's, I think he's going to develop if Bryce Young continues to develop, who finished the season really well. He had a terrible start. He loses his job to Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton gets in a car crash, so he wins the job back, and then all of a sudden he looks like a different quarterback. So I think he is at the mercy of his quarterback, who unfortunately is like 5'9" or something. But he's a big receiver. They drafted another big receiver, which seems to be like the trend. They're like, all right, we have a tiny quarterback, so let's get him some giant receivers to throw the ball up to. He's going to have obviously a different role in the offense with Ted McMillan in there. I don't think it was a show of like we don't trust Xavier Legette. I think it's like we need to empower Bryce Young as best we can. And they had a pretty good offensive line last year, so like, okay, let's go out and get him some weapons. They have a good tight end. Sanders, I believe, Jatavian Sanders is his name. But if you look at the wide receiver class last year, there's a pretty steep drop off. Like after, usually you're looking at third, fourth, fifth round. There's like a gem here and there. There's a Hunter Renfro in there, somebody that surprises you. But if you look at after Legette or after McConkey, I should say, it's like, I'll read some of these names. It's like Jalen Polk, A.D. Mitchell doesn't do much. Malachi Corley, you're like, who? All these guys, you're just like, ugh, not a great start to their careers. But so I think they probably should have gone with McConkey. I think all these teams probably should have just drafted Lad McConkey over the Chargers. But I have faith in Legette. I think he will take a leap next season with some more weapons around him and, of course, a better connection with Bryce Young. So did you disagree with any of the offensive rookie or defensive rookie of the year picks here?
No, I think those were the two best, right? Jayden Daniels and Jared Verse. Like those guys clearly deserve to win rookies of the year. I don't think I would have put anyone else in those spots.
I'm going to take a second here and say that it should have been Brock Bowers for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Listen.
But he's never
Jayden
going to win that
Daniels,
award. He's never going to win that award. It's
that's
always
the
going to be a
problem.
quarterback.
That's the problem. Is it a quarterback award? Say yes or no. Is it a
Yes,
quarterback
100%. 100% is a quarterback
award?
award.
Then it should be best quarterback best rookie quarterback, QBR or RQB, whatever it is. RQBOY. Instead, I think it should have gone to Brock Bowers. He had a historic season. Again, Jayden Daniels, all the credit in the world, but there have been other rookie quarterbacks that have taken their teams deep in the playoffs, that have taken their teams to the Super Bowl. So, Jayden Daniels, sure, you did something great. You're an incredible player, future All-Pro, all that stuff, but I still think it should have gone to Brock Bowers for being an All-Pro and literally not just setting like rookie or not just setting like tight end records or sorry, not rookie tight end records or rookie records. He set the record for most receptions by a tight end and the most rookie receptions, period. So, yeah, that's the end of my rant. But go on.
I was going to say you could also make the case for Napers and Brian Thomas Jr., but yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't get all pros, but they were two of the best wide receivers in this class, and Brian Thomas led the league. Was number 3 in receiving yards in the league. So, as a rookie,
but
he
wasn't number one. He wasn't number one at his position.
I mean, there's like 5 tight ends in the league these days, but okay.
That's not Brock Bowers' fault. History is what it is. Anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys joining us on this journey as we looked back at the 2024 rookie class. We'll do this obviously next year for the 2025 class, and it should be a lot of fun. There's some interesting names up there. Maybe we'll throw in Shedeur Sanders if he actually plays, even though he was a 5th-round pick. But thank you, Sulman. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, follow button wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast. Thanks, y'all.